Okay, that is controversial. We need to talk about the variants. So devoid of empathy saying this, but you know, a sworn enemy basically. Spicy. Everyone wants me to talk about. It's not for me. I can't help but disagree. Hello gorgeous friends. Today we are getting controversial and I truly do mean that today. I am a little bit nervous making this one. I know this is everyone's favorite series that we do here on this channel. I certainly love making these. I am definitely more nervous than usual. These submissions from you guys are definitely spicy, which thank you because I asked you to be controversial and you came through. Basically, just so you all know, this is a safe space to be open and honest and vulnerable unless I don't agree with your opinion, in which case I will judge you. I also thought I would expose the lyric that I have been mishearing and singing incorrectly that I didn't realize until attending the Eras tour last month. So stick around for that. By the way, if you are new here, hi, welcome. My name is Ali. It is so lovely to have you here. I make videos about pop culture, music deep dives, and most often Taylor Swift. If you would like to see more videos like this one from me, give this video a like. And if for some reason you are seeing this but are not subscribed, you can fix that for free down below. I really feel like we might be close to hitting 150,000 by the time Tortured Poets comes out, which is absolutely insane. I feel like we just hit 50,000. So if you would like to be a part of that, hit subscribe down below. You guys probably know the drill with these videos by this point, but if not, I put up a little post on my Instagram story for you guys to submit whatever you like, and basically that's it. I'm gonna react to it. I know I say this every time, but I truly did not expect anywhere near the amount of responses that we got for this video, so I deeply apologize. I was gonna say if I can't get through them all. I know I won't be able to get through them all. I'm gonna try and do like 50 to 100, but if you want me to do more videos like this, I would love to. Let me know by giving this video a like. They are some of my favorite to make. So before I get into these very, very juicy questions, I just want to thank today's video sponsor, Surfshark. Not only do they make these videos possible, but they also make my life a hell of a lot easier. So I'm sure you guys know, but Surfshark is a VPN, a virtual private network that helps protect your identity online by giving you a sneaky new IP address, which is just your virtual location. So essentially, you're like Mary-Kate and Ashley in Our Lips Are Sealed when they are put into the witness protection program to hide their identities and keep them safe so the criminals can't get them. I really love to travel or also just work from cafes and libraries, which means I'm constantly using public Wi-Fi, and I have learned this is very dangerous. So this is where Surfshark comes in, and they are essentially the barrier between me and any hackers or malware. And maybe more importantly, Surfshark also just opens up a whole wide world of opportunities when it comes to media and content and streaming. In Australia, so many things just cannot be viewed in our region, like awards shows, or even just a movie that my country's Netflix doesn't have the rights to. So I simply change my location in Surfshark and suddenly I have the most important pieces of media at my fingertips. You can use Surfshark to protect your identity online or enhance your media consumption journey by using my code Sheehan for an extra 3 months free at surfshark.deals/Sheehan. And that link will be in my description below. Thanks again Surfshark for sponsoring this part of today's video, and let's get into it. So first up we have I want to hear full songs instead of mashups now. Very interesting. This was definitely one of my two most commonly submitted opinions or topics, I guess I would say, the Eras tour mashups. Now I think our personal experience of the Eras tour will cloud this judgment or opinion here. For example, whether or not we've seen the tour yet. I attended one regular show with no mashups, just regular songs, although that did include You're Losing Me and the Bolter announcement, so how regular really can I say? But then also a second show, which sorry, I just got a very exciting email. That's so fun. But then I also attended a show that did include a mashup, and for me, that was incredibly exciting because I think especially the night before that, if I had gone Melbourne night 2, no one was expecting mashups. That had been done once on the Eras tour. It felt like a special one-off thing. I don't know, that just felt unreal to me and like such a joyous experience. It felt like Taylor had under-promised and over-delivered. You know, she's telling us she's gonna do 2 acoustic surprise songs every night. Suddenly we're getting 3 or 4 songs. Obviously, I love the mashup. As a lifelong fan, the potential and idea of getting to hear more and therefore like older songs is very, very exciting to me. There is no scenario in which I want to hear fewer songs from Taylor, especially when you consider that this could actually be the last time that some of these songs are ever performed live. Like obviously this is the Eras tour. She's diving deep into her old catalog of music. Who knows when some of these old songs might ever get chosen to be sung live again. I just feel like why wouldn't we want them to be heard, you know? Also for Taylor, obviously, this is her life for 2 years. For 3.5 hours each night she's out there. She has more than 150 shows to do. I think these mashups are a great way to keep it fresh, keep it real, not only for us, but also for her. I mean, remember the last time I did this exact video and someone submitted that the Eras tour was getting old, it was feeling stale, and that she should change it up? Well, she kind of did. I think it also benefits international fans who had to wait longer and have fewer, you know, show dates. It gives them a little kind of exciting treat, which is great in my eyes. There are some songs that Taylor has never sung live. Superstar, Girl at Home. I'm pretty sure these have never been played. So the idea that we now have more space to get to those songs that have never been sung or only ever performed once before they, you know, are retired for good, I want them to have their time in the sun. There is also the potential theory that Taylor is kind of churning through these songs at a quicker rate now because maybe she's making room for the Tortured Poets Department songs to kind of slot in there in that acoustic set. But more on that later. And by later, I do mean right now. The Tortured Poets Department should become part of the Eras Tour set list. So this, like the previous question, was submitted by hundreds of you, and we're seeing both sides of the equation here. People are very divided on this topic, so much so that I thought it'd be interesting to collect some data. So I put this poll up on my Instagram story and I said, now that the Eras Tour has 2 months off, do you think the set list will change to incorporate the Tortured Poets Department? The result is very interesting. 39% said yes, the set list is changing. 61% said no, it'll only be played in the acoustic set. In addition to knowing what you guys think will happen, I also wanted to know what you want to happen. So I did a follow-up question just for those that have not seen the Eras Tour yet and like are seeing it later this year. If you're seeing Eras Tour for the first time later this year, do you want Tortured Poets Department songs to be added to the set list or do you want it to remain the same? My hope was that only people who have not yet seen the Eras Tour would answer this because I feel like for us that have, it doesn't really feel fair. Like we've had our experience. Of course, we're gonna want the show to keep changing and developing. I don't know, actually, maybe that's just me. So anyway, the results were close, but not that close. 29% of you said, yes, please premiere new songs for us. 20% said, no, keep it the same. And then 51% were honest and said, I just want to see the results because this doesn't apply to me. This is all very interesting to me. And whether you voted on Instagram or not, I would love to hear your opinion in the comments below. I truly am so split 50-50 on whether she will change the set list to add poets or not. The one thing that kind of makes me lean towards yes, she will, is that when she recorded the Eras Tour movie in LA, as she's sitting at the piano for Champagne Problems talking about how she constructed the Eras Tour, in this little segment, she says that she wants to play the 5 albums she's never played live before. 5.
So with this tour, I remember people would come up to me and they'd be like, so you've put out like 5 albums that you haven't done tours for. So what's your plan? Like, what are you gonna do? Do a show with like all the albums in it? And I was like, yeah, it's gonna be called the Eras Tour. See you there.
So this would refer to Lover, Folklore, Evermore, Midnights. And then we didn't yet have a 5th album. It's kind of funny that this didn't, you know, set off any alerts in our minds back then because clearly she only had 4 at this point. I think I didn't even really take it in, but I would have just assumed she miscounted, which realistically would be a dumb assumption on my part, knowing who we're talking about. So to me, this means that she deliberately wanted 5 to be mentioned in the tour film, which is quite interesting because there will only be the 4 untoured albums documented forever on that film version. But maybe she wanted at least that clue to be immortalized. Now, along with the Tortured Poets Department potentially being added, we also have to consider if, when Taylor goes back on the Eras Tour this winter, or this summer, I guess, for Europeans, if Castles Crumbling might be added to the set list. Like we saw with Taylor bringing out Haim or Phoebe Bridgers, once Paramore has their turn at being the opening act, this gives us a chance for Hailey to come out and sing with Taylor. I think that would be so incredibly exciting, but it begs the question, would Taylor then take Long Live back off the set list? I don't think Long Live is going anywhere. I think Taylor knows how much that means, and I think she's really enjoying singing that with the band again. I could actually cry right now thinking about that, and that may seem silly to some people, which is fine. Okay, so I have 2 questions for you at home. Would you add Castles Crumbling featuring Hayley Williams if it meant removing Enchanted from the set list? Because I'm just deciding that Long Live has to stay. And then secondly, if we were to add 2 or 3 insane, incredible songs from the Tortured Poets Department to the official set list, which songs would you remove? It actually feels unfair to be putting this new album on the set list when debut already has nothing. Let's focus on her first, Taylor. She'll never do secret sessions again because people can't be trusted. As much as it pains me, I do think this might be true. I don't know that it's people can't be trusted. No, actually, yeah, that is what it is. I just think in today's day and age, with how prevalent leaks are and how keen people are for like clout on social media and a viral video, I do worry that in the wrong hands, someone could leak this early. In my opinion, it's already a wonderful miracle that all of the previous secret sessions were as successful as they were, and like nothing ever came out from them, at least that I know of, that Taylor didn't want to happen besides the person that stole her soap. And I would love to be optimistic and say that in the year of 2024 we could, you know, see this happen again. I just don't know if I believe that. But if it is real, it is crazy to think that it might be happening like even now. Someone watching this video could have already received a DM or attended a secret session. We won't know until the album is out, but I'm inclined to say that much like the lyric booklet Easter egg capitalizations, they are sadly a thing of the past. Obviously during the Midnights era, COVID was still way too rampant and not doing them was obviously the right choice. Now, again, I would love for these to happen. I think the biggest priority is keeping this stuff under wraps, and I don't know if that would be the case. Let me know, what do you guys think? Okay, this one feels personal. Electric Touch is her worst song ever. You guys know I love to rank songs, and I have not yet ranked the Vault songs because I'm waiting for the final two Taylor's versions to come out. I'll give you a free spoiler right now. I love Electric Touch so much, and I don't understand how I'm in the minority here because I see people like myself constantly wanting a rock album from Taylor, missing the rock sound. We love that so much about the Speak Now album. We love that about this version. And so when she graciously handed us an iconic rock song, how am I the only one eating it up? Patrick's voice and Taylor's voice together, that is my dream. The fact that the instrumentation then sounds like an 80s Journey song.
Maybe it was too ahead of its time for certain people, but
I could not ask for anything more. I think someday you will realize you're wrong, and I won't judge you, I will be happy for you, but my God, Electric Touch is a banger, and I hope someday the world will realize that. I don't think Vancouver will be the last Eras Tour shows. I am inclined to also agree with this, not because I don't think Canada is iconic enough for it to end at, because I've seen a lot of people submit that as well. I'm pretty sure I've attended the last like Taylor show of a tour before, and I don't think Melbourne's particularly iconic. I don't know. I don't think it's really based on that. I do think it's more logistics, but with the demand that we have seen for this tour, I don't know why she wouldn't add more. Watch this space, I guess. She shouldn't have announced the Tortured Poets department at the Grammys. Her peers are not her fans. I actually agree with you on this, and maybe not for the reason you might think. I've seen the take that like she was being greedy or, you know, selfish or trying to make the night about her. I don't believe that at all. My reason for thinking she should have announced it in Tokyo, the sort of plan B, is more because the reception it would have received would have been better and more exciting for her. I think, like you mentioned, she's in a room of her peers, which are her competitors. So think about how many people in that room had albums planned for this year and suddenly were just shaking in their boots. Obviously, we saw her announce Midnights at an award show, but the audience of that show was all fans. This, however, was her competitors. So it wasn't going to get that warm, excited reception like she could have if she announced it in Tokyo. I wish we got a Midnights tour instead of Eras. Eras should have come after all the re-records. Would I change a single thing that has happened? No. I feel incredibly lucky to have seen the Eras tour. Like, that is a dream come true. However, I do kind of agree with this. I would have loved to have seen Midnights in its entirety, given an era on stage, even if we did like a Lover Midnights kind of thing. I mean, I know then people will be like, well, what about Folkmore? Which fair enough. I guess I really just would have loved a tour where songs like Would've, Could've, Should've, Maroon, You're on Your Own Kid could have been part of a permanent fixture. And honestly, mostly, as someone that loves the Midnights aesthetic so much, I would die to see like 10 different Midnights inspired looks. Oh, here's a fun question. If we were to have gotten a Midnights tour, let me know your dream set list below. I honestly don't like that we're not getting a single for the Tortured Poets department. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this has not been confirmed. Like, she could announce a single any day, right? I think we very much will get a single or multiple singles for this album. I'm gonna guess that you mean like a lead single to come out before the album is out, which again, could still happen, but likely won't. But I definitely think this album will have single releases. As someone who loves eras to last as long as possible and be kind of all-encompassing, and also just someone that's very curious as to what this album will sound like, I would love a lead single to come out like a month before the album. However, I think it is unlikely that Taylor would do that again, at least for a while, because the success of Folklore, Evermore, and Midnights, none of which had singles come out before the album dropped, why would she go against that? I think by keeping the entire album a mystery until the second it drops, encourages people to tune in and listen, and that's very good for business. So sadly, I think we will all be waiting and wondering until April 19th, 2 p.m. Friday, my time at least. I don't know what it is for you guys, when we figure out what the heck this is gonna sound like. If Paramore is breaking up, I don't want them as an opener. Interesting, I kind of feel the opposite. I thought that if they were breaking up and this is potentially the last shows they might ever play, I would want to be at those shows. To me, knowing that One Direction were breaking up only would have made me want to see them way more, especially because as far as I know, Paramore are all on great terms. It was kind of just like a contractual thing that kind of timed out, and if there were bad blood or is bad blood, they wouldn't still be opening for Taylor. And at this current point in time, they are still listed as the opener. That could obviously change, but right now that is our situation. If that were to change and you had to replace them with a different opener, and you can't pick from anyone that is or has previously been an Eras Tour opener, who would you pick? I'd Lie is not the best debut vault track.
If that's a veiled criticism about me, I won't hear it and I won't respond to it.
Again, that feels like a personal attack. I feel like you're coming for my opinion about my favorite song. And similarly, I'd Lie is not that great. Sorry. I'm glad you at least had the decency to apologize to me for that. If any of you missed it, I did a full video on my favorite unreleased songs and what my dream debut vault would be. So I'll link that down below if you missed it. This person, I can't help but disagree with this take, but I'm open to hearing your explanations. I would have loved to have heard in this submission what your proposed favorite is. I would allow as an answer Permanent Marker, Crazier, or I Heart ? Not an opinion, but what are your thoughts on how Taylor seemed to blank Celine at the Grammys? This was definitely a question that was asked a lot. In my eyes, like any human being, but even more than that, a female music artist, Taylor likely worships the ground that Celine walks on. You know, we've seen them interact beautifully and positively in the past. I think they are both supporters of one another, because why wouldn't you be? So in the moment that everyone is referring to, Taylor made history. This was the first ever artist to win Album of the Year at the Grammys 4 times. That has never been done. That was insane. If I was in her shoes, I would be incredibly surprised, confused, flummoxed, flabbergasted. And you can see when her name is read out loud, she genuinely did not expect that to happen. I think we can tell from her 2 speeches that night, like she really didn't think Midnight's would win, and when it did win, she thanked the fans. Taylor attributed her Midnight's wins that night more to the fans really supporting the album than her view on the album's quality. Therefore, I think the extreme shock that we see her and Jack have, well, particularly Taylor, is incredibly genuine. You can tell when someone doesn't expect to win an award, and that was very much the case for Taylor here. So she goes up on stage, she's incredibly surprised, shocked, at the same time has just made history and is like processing that. In that moment, if that happened to me, I would forget my own name, I would forget where I was and everything else. Like, I think we forget the like extreme circumstance that this was. You're on stage in front of your musical peers and also like icons and legends making history. And at the same time as that, Laura was like kind of halfway talking to Taylor, so she was turned around to like respond to her and just happened to miss Celine. Was it awkward? Absolutely. Was it malicious or intentional? Obviously not. And it kind of blew my mind how much this became like a big deal. I shouldn't be that surprised. This happens in like Hollywood a lot, but there's literally a video of Taylor as soon as she turned away from the mic, immediately acknowledging and thanking Celine. It's just that this moment wasn't aired. The cameras had cut off at that point. If you've ever watched any kind of like behind the scenes of reality TV being made, you know that camera angles and cuts and music can make truly the kindest person look like a villain and the meanest, nastiest person look like an angel. We truly see like less than 1% of the reality of what is going on at any point. And so to make these claims that like Taylor hates and intentionally disrespected Celine Dion, like I do not waste my brain power on anything like this, because it's just a sensationalized headline of people trying to like find drama where there is none. Remember during the Don't Worry Darling press tour when everyone thought that like Harry spat on Chris Pine or something like that? Like a weird camera angle and like one tiny scene of something with zero context, people can apply whatever they want to it, even when it's clearly not the truth.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen.
I just think people are looking for a reason to be angry, a reason to hate people. They're making a mountain out of a molehill, and I just don't really see the point. We know Taylor and Celine hung out later that night. They're clearly on great terms still. I think the people just love a villain. And additionally, while we're on the subject of that, the Lana thing. So when Taylor won, she brought up both Jack and Lana because they both worked on the album that won the award. People didn't like that she brought Lana up because Lana was also nominated in this category and therefore like didn't win, but she was being brought up regardless. To me, this is like the very kind, obvious thing to do. She's sitting at a table with her 2 friends that both worked on this album together with her, I would also want to include them. I think if Taylor had left Lana sitting there alone at the table by herself with cameras on her, feeling sad that she lost, people would be judging Taylor even more for that. Her intention in this moment was to make a friend feel included and loved. She also praised Lana in her speech. She wanted her friend to feel recognized. To me, again, this is just like a great, lovely thing, whereas people were like, that was so rude or weird of her to bring Lana up. Again, I just think people are looking for a reason to hate. There are valid reasons to criticize someone. Her wanting her friend to feel included and not left out is not one of them. It should be okay to wear normal clothes to the Eras tour without getting shade. I completely agree. I think I also made a video talking about this. Yeah, the whole point of concerts is to be comfortable, both like mentally and physically, in whatever you're wearing. Especially an Eras tour concert, they are bloody long and you want to just feel good in yourself. So whether that is wearing a skimpy little bodysuit like Taylor and myself, or a t-shirt and jeans, or pajamas, or a cloak, or anything in between, all that matters is that you feel great and you feel comfortable. If anyone actually is judging you for that, send them my way. I'll set them straight. The upside down telephones are an Easter egg that I think is useful still. In my mind, the two upside down phones represented the track numbers that they were, which add up to 11. And I thought that was like Taylor hinting that TS11 was coming, because obviously she's told us she's been keeping this secret for 2 years, at which point she would have been doing the Midnight's promo. So that's how I interpreted it. If anyone else has theories on what the upside down phones meant that is different to that, let me know. People put way too much pressure on the Vault songs to be good. They're literally album rejects. That is such an interesting thing to think about. I think I expect greatness still, because they're Taylor Swift songs obviously, but I expect these to still be album caliber songs because they just didn't make the cut. Like, they weren't abandoned halfway through the writing process or scrapped really early on. Like, these were songs that maybe Taylor loved, but her label or someone else involved was just like, it just doesn't fit the vibe. Like, isn't that kind of like calling the deluxe or bonus tracks album rejects? Because they also didn't make the standard album, but then some of them are like the best songs of all time. I don't know. I think the album rejects are the songs that we will never ever hear. And these are ones that maybe she just questioned a little bit too hard. Amazing intentions on Taylor's side, but I really hate that we got a 3.5-hour show instead of a meet and greet. It's the first time she's coming to my country and I don't have the chance to meet her. Interesting. I mean, as someone who has never been to a meet and greet myself, I understand where you're coming from. It's hard not to feel jealous of people that got to go to like Rep Room or Tea Party. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is Taylor and her crew and her dancers and her family. Everyone's health is the most important thing. Like, particularly when Andrea is unwell, but also just in general, like COVID still exists, cold and flu still exist. And in order for Taylor to be able to do this tour for 2 years, she can't get sick. Like, that does not work. If Taylor were to get really, really unwell, multiple shows would be cancelled, which is not worth it. But even worse than that, someone could get very, very unwell. I understand wanting secret sessions and meet and greets and like fun things, because obviously we want to meet Taylor. That is the ultimate dream, but it's never worth putting anyone's health at risk, especially if someone is already vulnerable or immunocompromised. At the end of the day, she doesn't owe us that, and I think it's good that she's prioritizing people's well-being, including but not limited to her own. You're Not Sorry CSI remix bangs, and I wish there was a re-record. Luke, thank you so much for reminding me that this gem exists. I need to go and listen to that right now. I don't like the Eras tour photos because they're always for the Lover era. Firstly, I don't know what internet you're on, because I see photos from every single era, although rarely 1989, I have to say. But my honey, the reason we see more photos from the Lover era is just because this is the era and set that opens the show, and that's often the only time of the show that is, you know, before the sun has set. So the lighting is really beautiful. This is a time known as golden hour, when everything's really glowy and gorgeous. That's just, Lover just happens to have that slot, so that's why. Also, that bodysuit is, as you know from my ranking video, the best thing that anyone's ever worn, so I'm not mad about it. I liked all of Australia's surprise songs except The Night I Went, Melbourne Night 3. You weren't happy to get Teardrops on My Guitar? I mean, obviously I had a very different reaction to that. Also, like, Come Back Be Here. No offense to Daylight, but even Come Back Be Here was like such a joy for me, so I'm sorry. Just remember that surprise songs are a bonus on top of the, what, 44 songs she's already performing for us, so if you don't like them, oh well. This doesn't actually mean anything. I disagree, and I have no proof, I have no evidence, I have no conceived idea of what it could mean. I think I did have a theory in my previous video, didn't I? Maybe it's like the Eras Tour Part 2 is coming soon. I just feel in my bones this has to mean something, otherwise she's very successfully gaslit me. But I mean, to be fair, we never found out what that whole pizza thing meant, so it could become that, but I have faith. Stay tuned. Okay, this is a controversial one. I'm there to hear Taylor sing, not to hear you scream and screech the whole concert. I personally agree with this, and again, I know people have different opinions on this and that's totally fine, but especially with how expensive concert tickets are these days, I really do want to hear Taylor sing. And part of me thinks we've lost a little bit of like concert etiquette. I noticed this also at theater shows, like even with theater etiquette. I don't know if we can blame the pandemic and everyone being at home. Sometimes people do not know how to act in a crowd, and often, especially in more Western centric countries, we see this kind of attitude around the self and like the self's needs, my own individual desires, and that ends up being what kind of motivates someone's decisions. And in other countries, it's more community based. I mean, I think it's the same reason that mask wearing was common in a lot of Asian countries before this recent pandemic, because it is a desire to take care of one another and have respect for one another. It is just like a simple act that allows other people around you to have a better experience in life. And that is something I very much respect and admire. And like, obviously when it comes to concerts, we are there to have a great time, to sing along, to like enjoy this live experience. But like this person said, there is a difference between singing along and like screeching, screaming. I don't want to come across as dictating how someone else can live their life, but at the same time, I do want to always take into consideration how I might be impacting those around me. I even felt really self-conscious recording my reactions for the surprise songs. I've been asked to do that by so many people, but at the same time was like, I don't want anyone around me to feel like they're on camera or like I'm intruding into their space. I don't know. I think we just have to figure out the line between doing whatever we want to have our own individual amazing experience, but also not forget those around us at the end of the day, you know? I want us to always take care of each other and make the Eras Tour a safe space to have fun, feel safe, and also hear Taylor because we've paid hundreds of dollars. Again, I know that's very controversial, so let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah. Oh, this is really interesting. I would prefer a debut set over the surprise songs. I find it hard to have an opinion on that because I've already seen the tour. So like I could easily say, yeah, I want a debut set instead, because then, you know, I'd have my cake and eat it too. Also, I did get a debut song as a surprise song, so I kind of got the best of both worlds. So I'm gonna do a poll on my Instagram and put that in here to see what the public think.
I mean, let me ask the audience.
I think the Eras Tour should have had seated floor for all shows. I could not agree with this more. I genuinely feel so bad for all of the European shows or any of the shows that had general admission on the floor. Like a lot of the time, these are incredible, iconic opening acts that we all want to see. Therefore, you're getting there even earlier. And like for the people that like to line up and get barrier, that means they are there all day long in the heat. Like we all know the tragedy that happened in Brazil. And like, yes, that was due to heat and like things that the stadium did wrong. But to me, a large part of this was also the fact the floor was general admission. There is no personal space. And also it makes people feel like if you have a spot, you can't leave. You can't go to get water, you can't go to the bathroom, to walk around and get some fresh air, because if you leave, you can't get your spot back. And I think that is a really dangerous precedent to set in a venue like this, you know, in peak summer, thousands and thousands of people. I wish there was a way that Europe could change this. I don't know if they can. My guess is that they do this so they can sell more tickets. I don't know if that's true. I would assume that like seating takes up more space, and therefore if you remove them, you can just like kind of pack people in a lot more. And I think that's really, really bad. So I deeply apologize to all of you that have to have this experience. Take care of yourself, be safe. Nothing is worth risking your health or your life. Look out for the people around you and just be safe. Okay, I think this is the one that everyone wants me to talk about. She needs to stop with the variance. There is a cost of living crisis and people can't afford this. So I do think my opinion on this is actually quite controversial, hence the point of this video, I guess. And I think I must be coming at this from a very different lens or like angle from this person, because to me, vinyls are not a necessity. They are a luxury item. Like in my country, albums on vinyl cost between like $70 to $120, which to me is a lot of money. So this is not something that I would consider in Maslow's hierarchy of needs fundamental, you know, especially when I can listen to that album essentially for free on Spotify or literally for free on YouTube. It's something that would be nice to like treat myself or a friend with, but not something that I feel like I'm like owed, you know, like I feel about shelter and food and things like that. The Midnight's variants, for example, that clock thing was really cool, but I didn't need it, so I didn't buy it. That doesn't mean that I don't think it should exist or be sold just because I didn't want to buy it. I just think like it's not for me. It's outside of my budget, so it's not for me. And this kind of exclusivity marketing has always existed, you know, with like designer bags. bags or cars or watches, fashion, music. So in my mind, these vinyl variants are not like an everyday item must have that like everyone needs to own. I think they're really exciting and probably really, really fun for vinyl collectors. And you know, vinyl collectors have always bought all the different kinds of vinyls that have different pressings and pretty colors. Now to me, by adding these bonus tracks, it's a good thing because it just increases the value of this item that they are buying. You know, it gives them more value for money. They're getting a bonus track along with this, you know, pretty pressing. It's also not at all a new concept when it comes to music. For example, Olivia Rodrigo, her release of Guts had 9 different variants, and the 4 variants on her store came with 1 bonus track each that you could only hear, you know, if you bought that specific vinyl. At this current moment, I don't believe any of them are on streaming, but historically, when Taylor has done this, they have all eventually made it to streaming, so I'm guessing Olivia will do the same. I kind of see it the same as cardigans. Like, they're fun, you can buy one, you don't have to. If you want to collect them all, you can. The same way that You're Losing Me was a fun, exclusive thing that Taylor did for MetLife, and that was the only place you could hear it for that certain period of time, unless, you know, people uploaded it and we heard it online. You know, eventually it made its way to streaming, as all bonus tracks pretty much do. All of Taylor's variants for the Tortured Poets department will come to streaming, and even if you don't want to wait until then, you can hear them online. You can hear them in other ways, the same way we did with You're Losing Me. And again, even with other artists, this is very, very common. The Red Hot Chili Peppers released 2 albums in a year, and both of those albums had like over 20 variants each. The Beatles released 8 different variants for Sgt. Pepper, and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon has over 1,000 different variants. Led Zeppelin sold 6 different vinyl variants that were sold as a lucky dip, packaged in a brown paper bag, so you wouldn't even know which one you were paying for until you got it, which is kind of fun to me, honestly. I love lucky dips, and I don't even see a problem with that because, again, it is the buyer's choice. The thing that I just don't really agree with is that, like, because we're in a cost of living crisis, they shouldn't exist. Because, I don't know, like, I get upset about my glasses costing me a bunch of money because that's something that I need to have, like, to live. However, a vinyl and then a variant of that same album is not something that I feel like I need to own, you know? Would be nice to. It is still kind of just like a luxury collector's item. If you are wanting to collect all 4, but the vinyls feel a bit too expensive, you could opt for the CDs or the cassettes. They are a much more affordable option. I think I will likely try and get my hands on the Black Dog if it comes to like my local stores. But for now, I just feel like I haven't heard the album yet. I don't know the songs yet. So I don't know. I just personally think it's fine for artists or business owners or anyone to create something that is seen as like an exclusive or a rare product, especially because we all know these songs will come to streaming, will come to YouTube. Like, we will be able to hear them in other ways, even if you have to wait a little bit longer. I think that's personally fine, but I feel like I am in the minority in this. So if you disagree with me, I'm very, very open to hearing different opinions and, you know, having my opinion changed. I think that's just where I'm coming at it from, because in the guise of it being a cost of living issue, I don't know, I think groceries and rent are more pressing issues. And if someone can afford to buy 1 vinyl, let alone 4, I think that shows that you are in a very privileged position, which is a fantastic thing. It is something that we can buy, we don't have to, but at the end of the day, it's just a personal choice. I'm a bit happy that her masters got stolen because now we get to experience all the eras again. I feel so devoid of empathy saying this, but like, I obviously selfishly agree. It's similar to the sliding doors moment when we think about like, had COVID never hit, we never would have had Folklore and Evermore, but Lover would have had a tour. Like, it's so weird to think about the possibilities. If Taylor had owned her masters from the beginning, we wouldn't have all of the vault tracks that we have. We would never have heard All Too Well 10-minute version. What a dark timeline for us personally, but probably a much nicer and happier existence for Taylor. Way less stress, way less, you know, business fallout with the people she thought she could trust. It is really interesting to think about, had this whole masters re-recording era not happened, what would these past few years of Taylor's career look like? She would have released Lover, and let's say there was no pandemic either. I feel like we wouldn't have Midnight, so we wouldn't have the Tortured Poets department. It would have gone on a completely different journey and like angle and storyline. What I do wonder is how Taylor feels about it now, being a little bit more removed from, you know, the time when the Masters thing all kind of began, having witnessed the success of her re-recordings era and the Eras tour, all of these things that happened as a result of that. Would she change the past? Would she go back and do things differently, or does she feel this was worthwhile? Obviously, don't want to put words into her mouth. I'm sure this was a highly traumatic experience to lose so much trust in someone that you felt so close with, that you know, treated like family, to have your life's work kind of taken away from you by someone that you know, a sworn enemy basically. I imagine that would be very, very hard to overcome and get through. So I would not judge Taylor if she felt, hell yeah, I wish it was different, and I wish, you know, the re-recordings era never happened and I just own my work from the beginning. But what an interesting timeline that would be. I'd like Taylor to dive into more spicy topics on the Tortured Poets department, but without the use of bad bad language. I feel like you are going to get your wish. I feel like we're going to have some very spicy songs. In my mind, I see this album having a lot of songs like False God, Maroon, slower, sultry. I hope we get more of deep voice Taylor. I love that. As for the bad language, it says no explicit version is available for pre-order, therefore it is an entirely clean album. That is really interesting actually, because her previous Midnights was explicit, Folklore and Evermore were explicit. I think Lover might have been clean. In recent times, we've heard a cuss here or there, as you Americans like to call it. So that will be really interesting. Well, surprise update. Just minutes before I went to hit export, we discovered that this is in fact not a clean album and will in fact be explicit. Here are our explicit tracks. So honestly, this makes a lot more sense to me. Companies like Instagram, etc. should not be allowed to buy tickets and give them away to influencers. What a great submission. So obviously I have kind of a vested interest in this because I was sent to the Jonas Brothers tour as a content creator, influencer, whatever you want to call it, for free. I was doing work, but I wasn't paid, but I was given free tickets. So obviously I have like benefited from this system. My personal take on this is that whoever is going should be two things. They should A, be a fan of the artist that they are going to see, and B, working to promote the tour. Would I compromise on either of those? I want them at least to be a fan. Like when I went to the Jonas Brothers, I was stoked because I don't even know if Live Nation knew that I am a Joe Bro Ho to my core since like 2005. That is like my favorite band of all time. So I was like, you've come to the right girl. I am the man for the job, you know? In addition to that, I was there to promote the tour. I went on opening night and I was like, here's how you get tickets. Like this is the stops they're going to or whatever, just showing you what a great time I had, which wasn't hard. And therefore I was like there to do a job and help other people know about the tour and go themselves. However, I can imagine feeling pretty salty if influencers were being sent to the Eras tour, which is like the hardest event maybe in history to get tickets to. That's probably the Super Bowl. So when it comes to an event like the Eras tour that is so sought after, I almost want to like crack down on who's allowed to attend, I guess. I don't know. Which at the end of the day, I shouldn't, because I also want people that don't know Taylor to be able to go, or new fans. I want anyone who wants to go to be able to do so. And interestingly, I actually saw a post where a girl that I know who is an influencer but not around Taylor or music or anything like that, she does more about like wildlife and stuff, that one of her friends posted a reel, including her and a bunch of their friends, saying before the Eras tour tickets were even announced or released, their group got together and bought like a box at the stadium, which I didn't even know was an option. I think it cost them like $600 each, which is less than my VIP ticket cost. So I was like, that's actually really, really smart. And I had never thought of that. Obviously this is different to influencers being invited for free. I just thought that was worth mentioning. Maybe I should have kept that a secret to use for future tours, but here you go. It's really hard to think about this objectively because I guess Instagram is doing it to benefit their business, because whoever goes will be promoting Instagram. Just like I saw some influencers go with Rare Beauty, so like, you know, Selena's company. But I totally get where the negative feelings and honestly like jealousy comes from. I would be pretty jealous if like I miss out on tickets and someone that doesn't even like Taylor is there for free. So I totally get you and I totally agree, and I hope everyone was okay with me going to the Jonas Brothers. My personal suggestion or solution for this is that those brands run a competition instead and like get fans to enter, and then the fans can like promote Instagram or whoever the owner is. But I guess then like they wouldn't get the reach that they're after, but maybe they would by everyone entering the contest. If it's like follow our account or like buy this thing to go in the running, I think that's a better idea. You want people to end up at the show that like know the songs. I don't know, this is so complex. Okay, this is something I want to talk about. The diving into the stage part of the Eras tour isn't that exciting. So this kind of goes back to something I talked about in my previous unpopular opinions video, where that person said that the set list was getting boring and should be changed. And this just comes back to, we are experiencing concerts in a way that we shouldn't be, which is essentially just watching them before we have even attended. We shouldn't know the set list off by heart. We shouldn't know all of her outfit changes and all of her speeches and all of the dancers' names and routines. Like, I know that I am a contributor to this problem, but this is not how shows are designed to be experienced. And so to say that something is like not exciting anymore or boring, or like, you know, to have any kind of judgment like that, I feel like we don't have a leg to stand on because we are the problem. Had we not all been watching the Eras tour on TikTok, seen the movie in cinemas or rented it, or like just watched a million posts on Instagram, we wouldn't even know about the dive yet if we hadn't been to our show. And if we didn't know about it, it would be so bizarre and exciting to see in person. Like 1 second she's there and the next second she's literally literally dove onto the stage. You can't tell me that's not exciting. I simply don't believe you. I think you are just bored of seeing it happen over and over again, and that is our own fault. Taylor's best acoustic songs are Cornelia Street from Paris, Clean from the Rep Tour, and Evermore from the Eras Tour. I absolutely agree with you about Evermore. You know how much I love that version. Cornelia Street, ditto, and Clean, Rep Tour. I'm actually gonna change your Rep Tour answer. I think Dancing with Our Hands Tied is the best live version from that tour.
Oh, 25 years old. Oh, how were you to know when?
Simply because it took a song that I didn't really care that much for. Like, I liked it, it was okay, I get it, I respect it. It turned it into the most beautiful version of a song simply because it was just a bit stripped back. It has my heart. I don't think Sabrina deserves to be on the Eras Tour. She's been famous for like 3 seconds. It's ridiculous. Interesting. So first of all, I don't think we should dictate or decide Eras Tour openers by their level of fame, because we have people from Gayle and Babadoobie, I'm so sorry, I should know her name by now, right up to freaking Paramore. On previous tours we had Ed Sheeran, but also, what was his name? This is proving how not famous he was at the time. He literally went to school in Melbourne. His name is James Bay. Siri, who opened for Taylor Swift on the 1989 tour in Australia? Ali, he sings Riptide. Riptide singer. Okay, let me look this up. Vance Joy. That's it. And the reason I've forgotten is because it's a stage name. So for the 1989 tour, the openers were Shawn Mendes, Haim, Vance Joy, and James Bay. I was getting those two confused. Very different levels of fame at that time and also now, and that's totally okay. I really don't think someone's level of fame should be the reason they're chosen. If anything, I would almost argue the other way around. Like, I think you're saying she hasn't been famous long enough to be chosen. Wouldn't we argue that we would want to give like small artists that aren't yet famous a chance? If we're gonna be arguing in either direction, I would go less famous. However, Miss Sabrina Carpenter, I think I've been listening to her for over a decade now. She has been on the Disney Channel, pumped out like 5 albums, very much a successful singer-songwriter, artist, actress, like notoriously one of the internet's most hated people in the year of 2021, you know, in the whole sour backlash. I personally disagree. And for this person in particular, I'm going to assign some homework, but also all of you if you would like. Go and listen to Sabrina's early stuff. It's very like cheesy Disney Channel, but that's my exact taste in music. Songs like Eyes Wide Open, even Can't Blame a Girl for Trying. They're such cute, fun songs. If you like, you know, the first Hannah Montana album, Hilary Duff's first album, go and give them a listen. They are so cute. She was on Girl Meets World surely like 10 years ago at this point. She's been famous for a lot longer than 3 seconds, but I don't think that's even important. Eras Tour should have only been 2023. We have the movie, we know the songs, let's move on. Rewind like 5 minutes to when I was on my soapbox about how we are over consuming tour content, because I very much disagree with this take, and I feel like this is coming from an incredibly privileged position. Either you've seen the tour or you are choosing not to. I'm sorry, Mark, but some countries haven't seen it yet and deserve to. Concerts are not meant to be just seen through TikTok or a movie screen or your laptop. They are meant to be live music experiences. So let's not move on. Oh my god, I hate her frizzy Eras Tour hair. I wish they had time to quickly brush it in between sets. What? I could not disagree more. I find her frizzy, curly, return to factory settings hair by the end of the show so endearing and also just so relatable. Like, Homegirl is up there for 3.5 hours, giving her all, putting her blood, sweat, and tears into this through all different climates and conditions. We have rain, we have wind, we have heat, humidity, like the whole shebang. Of course, her hair is gonna frizz out a little bit. Even someone like Taylor with her hair texture, which is like thin and fine, you know, a white woman's hair, is gonna react to humidity and heat and performing and sweat. I definitely disagree with this. I'm almost intrigued by why you have this opinion. We don't want Paramore, we want Sabrina and Gracie. It's the real Eras Tour experience. That's really interesting to me, because to me, having Paramore up there makes the most sense, since Hailey and Taylor have been friends since the Speak Now era, have performed together, supported each other for over a decade now. For a show that is about all of Taylor's eras and like encompassing her entire career, Paramore actually makes the most sense when you think about it. It's not fair that she's redoing surprise songs because now it's not unique to each show. I guess I would ask, why does it need to be unique to each show? Because typically with most artists, their set list is the same for each show. Taylor is giving us additional bonus songs. If you're at previous shows like the 1989 tour, there was like 3 songs that were on rotation for the entire tour. But even now, I would go as far as to put money on the fact that no Eras Tour show will be identical to another. You might have a song in common with another place, but they will always be different. And I think that's why she's doing mashups. Like, would you rather get a song that's repeated? Like, would you rather get Would've, Could've, Should've, even though she sang it in Nashville and Sydney? Or would you rather get like Me? No offense to Me, but I know what I'd pick. This touches again on what I've been saying. Watching the movie or live streaming the concert before you go completely ruins it. I did this and I agree. No, I don't think it ruins it. Like, I won't go that far. It is still the best concert I've ever seen and will ever see. But if I were able to avoid all spoilers for the almost entire year before my concert came around, I would have loved to have done that. It just was not possible. This is my job, and also, hello, I have an internet connection. But I do think going into a concert blind is the best way to experience it. And, you know, those that went to Glendale or any of the earlier stops were so blessed. Like 44 surprise songs in a row. That's the dream. And I'm pretty lucky that I have a terrible, terrible memory. So even though I saw the Jonas Brothers last August, I think, in the Bronx, my mind had no recollection of what the set list was, and I deliberately didn't look back into it before my show last weekend. And it was such a joy hearing each new song start and being like, oh my god, it's this, rather than knowing in my head, okay, you know, the Fearless set is next. That's gonna be Fearless, then You Belong With Me, and then comes Evermore. Like, I agree. It is not how we are meant to experience it. And if anyone has made it this far spoiler free, well, I'm sorry, I probably just ruined a bunch of stuff for you. I do think you have a better experience being surprised. If Taylor wanted to just make the re-recordings out of principle, she wouldn't make it so big. I understand what you mean, but I don't think she needs to make them just on principle. Like, yes, she could have re-recorded these all in a week, dropped them onto Spotify in the same day, not given us any physical copies, not done any promo or music videos, but like, where's the fun in that? You guys will remember from my predictions video years back, I literally thought she was gonna do that because it seemed like the least amount of effort for her to do, like just get them all out there, you know, have them kind of replace the old versions. Therefore, fans could stop listening to the old versions and stop giving our money to other people that weren't her. If it was about the money, she would have done that. The fact that she has instead given these full eras and music videos in some cases and proper rollouts is just so much more fun for me. So I'm really glad. Endless Summer Vacation deserved to win over Midnights, a no skip album for me. I love the Miley Love. I will always support the Miley Love. And honestly, I had kind of forgotten what a great album that was. I listened to it in the shower this morning and I was like, yes. Like, I thought back to my reaction video and I like was vibing the whole time. Personally, I think if Miley was gonna win album of the year, it should have been for Plastic Hearts. I don't know how that wasn't acknowledged at all. My prediction going into the Grammys was actually that SZA would win. I thought SOS might get it, but I was also so torn by the entire category. But I was also like so surprised by Harry winning it the year before that I thought anything could happen. A lot of the albums that were nominated in that year were so deserving. Fantastic albums. Obviously, I was most happy for Taylor because she made history. But if Endless Summer Vacation had won or SOS or anything else, I would have been happy too. Oh my gosh. Okay, this was again one of the most common ones I got. People need to stop bringing up Rep TV. She has a new album coming out next month. The submissions of this nature were all around how people looking for Easter eggs and clowning for Rep TV is kind of ruining the rollout of Tortured Poets Department. And I agree, but I also haven't really seen the Rep clowning since she announced Poets. I don't know if I'm on a different side of the internet. I'm not really on TikTok that much anymore, and the people I follow on Twitter are like pretty level-headed, so I just might not have been exposed to it. I do agree though. I think if we've been given a gift such as a new album, that we should be grateful for that and excited about that, rather than being like, okay, but what's next? Like, you know, what's the next thing coming? Yes, I am the kind of person to think about my dessert whilst I'm eating my dinner, but I'm not so ungrateful as to say, okay, I don't care about this, what's next? And as I mentioned earlier, I really want each re-recording to have its own proper era. I want it to get the rollout it deserves. I find it so enjoyable, so I'm in no rush. We are firmly in the Poets era. That's where my mind's at, and I'm glad that yours is too. Okay, let's get into my personal unpopular opinions. And I'll actually begin this segment just by letting you guys know the lyric that I've been mishearing. So the song was 7, and I only realized this because it is of course in spoken word poem form. Therefore the emphasis was on different words, and I was like, oh, I've always heard it as I hit my peak at 7 feet. Like on the swing, she got to 7 feet and that was like the peak of her swing experience as a kid. And then I of course realized when Taylor spoke it, it was I hit my peak at 7 feet in the swing. And this is what I get for never looking at a lyrics page, but this is also what Taylor gets for no longer giving me little Easter eggs and capitalized letters in the lyric booklets. So really, it's her fault. Once again, this is a safe space for misheard lyrics, and I love reading them, so let me know yours in the comments. Okay, unpopular opinions. Let's start with a pretty simple one. I think Trust Him Like a Brother is a perfectly fine and lovely lyric. I don't know why people, I don't want to say sexualize it, but like look at it as if it's a weird thing to say, that you trust your partner like they are family. For the most part, we hope that family are the people we can trust unconditionally. We can be fully vulnerable around them because we know they will always be in our life. They will always have our back. To say that you trust your partner like that as well, even though they were once a stranger and like could be again, to me is so lovely. I don't know. People try to make it sound like it's saying, I view my lover like he's my brother, which she isn't. She's saying, I trust you the same amount that I trust my own flesh and blood. Personally, I love that. Another unpopular opinion, the I Can See You music video does not fit the song. I love the music video. I think it is so fun. The callbacks of having Joey and Taylor and, oh my gosh, her name's on the tip of my tongue. I'm so sorry, I've forgotten. I'll write it here. You know, the people from the Speak Now era. That is so fun. She didn't have to do that. She did that for the fans and also for those three. But the theme of the music video kind of being a heist to recover her stolen work and, you know, free her from the vault didn't really fit with the I'm so horny, I want to have sex vibe of the song. I can't believe I just said those words on the internet. I feel like she had a concept in mind, wanted to execute it, and was like, this is the one it makes the most sense for. Which, if we go through them, I mean, it doesn't really fit any of the songs. I would argue that maybe it fits Castles Crumbling more than I Can See You. I guess we could also discuss the theme of music video being filled with Easter eggs, which is a quite new practice for Taylor. We obviously saw this a lot in the Midnights era, and then the I Can See You music video at the end. What do we think about this? Do you guys want the music videos to stand alone and just exist in their own form, like representing that current moment, you know, just shining on their own? Or do you enjoy that little taste of here's what's coming next? I'm hiding clues all over this, you know, for my future projects. I think when done well, I enjoy it. Honestly, maybe it's Taylor's fault because she said she hid the Lover album title in the Me music video and like no one had guessed it yet. I know that was a lie. I don't know if this one is an unpopular opinion, but I am very much over the pitting women against each other. It is a tale as old as time and probably will exist forever, but I just hate it. And especially because of men. My generation saw this with the whole Miley, Selena, Nick situation. Before that, we had Hillary and Lindsay. Love triangles are an important part of our history and culture. I would love nothing more than for this mold to be broken by Miss Olivia and Sabrina collaborating. I think that would be so fun. I don't need them to be best friends or even friends at all. I think they seem like very, very different people, and obviously they're not even like similar in age, but more just to show that people and like women can come together and move on from things like that. I think it would be a beautiful example. You know, like look at John Tucker Must Die. I think Sabrina deserved so much better than all of the treatment she received. When Sour came out, the way people reacted to those lyrics and just taking one person's side of a story to think that you then know a situation or a person really rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm so glad that Sabrina is like getting her flowers now. Emails is an incredible album. Because I Liked a Boy is a beautiful, fantastic, honest song. I will just never be over the way that she was treated. I think because we've seen it so many times in Hollywood and we'll see it again so many times, but thinking that we know someone or a situation when we don't even know those people at all is just wrong. It's really nice that I think the world is kind of apologizing to Sabrina in a sense, but I just wish she had never had to experience that. Okay, another unpopular opinion. I cannot stand most of the like fan-made chants for the Eras tour. I think the only way that we should ever have these, what do we call them? Like tour chants? Yeah, I don't know. Is if they are created completely organically. 1, 2, 3, let's go bitch is the perfect example of that. A girl on Twitter posted a video of herself like saying that out loud at the show. And we were all like, that's cool as hell. That fits perfectly in like this part of the song. We're all gonna get around you and do it. There's nothing morally wrong with it. I just personally don't enjoy it. But to me, it is most fun when they just happen naturally. One thing I did love, and I only noticed this at my second show because I think being on the floor, you miss a lot of like the crowd on the stage. Everyone having their phone lights on for Marjorie. I was a mess at that. I cried the entire performance of Marjorie. My friends were like hugging me on both sides. It was very, very nice. Seeing the crowd do that for Taylor and like for anyone in the stadium that needed it was really, really beautiful. Oh, I'm just looking at my notes under unpopular opinions, and these are a little bit outdated now, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. So I said, yeah, should have had a Midnights tour first. Meet Me at Midnight doesn't really have anything to do with Lavender Haze. I think she just wanted to say it. It's kind of still true. Just because Taylor likes or comments on a TikTok doesn't mean it's 100% confirmed to be on the set list, and I think everything is still fair game. And I very much stand by that. Okay, I'm gonna end on a mildly controversial one. This again comes back to personal preference, but I mean, it doesn't everything. There's a lot of discussion around merch, and this is not so much about quality, but rather around like aesthetics. Everyone says the rep era merch is the best, and I think it's kind of ugly. Again, this is personal preference because I'm just not like a baddie. I also like don't ever wear black, so that rules out a lot of it for me. Again, the designs are just not my style, but I don't think I could pull off the kind of khaki green vibe. I definitely can't pull off black. I don't think I own anything from rep era. I am open to changing that. There are definitely a few things that I think I could wear, but for the most part, it's not my favorite. I will say, I think the Tortured Poets Department era has the potential to be the cutest merch of all time. If Taylor's style over the past year has anything to say about what we're about to see, this is just gonna be cute as hell. I also got a lot of submissions around like whether new fans should be allowed to come if they don't know every song. It's my opinion that anyone should be able to go to any concert they want to. I considered going to see Pink the other night, even though I probably only knew half the set list, just because I think it would be a great show. And I think that is how concerts should be. I know it's hard to feel that way when we feel like we're actively competing against one another for tickets, and we kind of are. I don't really see an alternative. I mean, I guess to be honest, the rep system was pretty good because it was like, if you're willing to watch videos of Taylor or if you bought the CD, like these things kind of give you an advantage. I do think that was a great system. It will likely never happen again because the ticketing agencies lost too much money. They weren't able to price gouge, and then like what's the point for them, right? So I would ideally love to go back to that. But moral of the story, I do think anyone, including born again Swifties, should be able to attend a tour. Well, this is gonna be a long ass video. Thank you guys so much for letting me spill my deepest, darkest secrets and for trusting me with yours. I would really love to hear more of your unpopular opinions in the comments. I will be online replying to you guys, so let me know your most controversial opinions below. Thank you again, Surfshark, for sponsoring this video. Everything you need for them will be linked below. I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Is this what it feels like?